Welcome to Hope for the Caregiver. This is Peter Rosenberger. I am glad that you are with us. 800-688-9522 if you want to be on the show. This is the nation's #1 show for the family caregiver, and I am thrilled to have you with us. How are you feeling? I mean, that's the question for caregivers. How are you feeling? You're taking care of somebody who has some type of chronic impairment. How are you doing with that? You know, do you want to explore that? A lot of caregivers don't even think about themselves in this thing. They're so busy taking care of someone else, they don't realize, oh, wait a minute, what about me? That's what this show is about. 65 million Americans that really, I think that's a low number, are putting themselves daily between a vulnerable loved one and even worse disaster. How do you help those people? And I've been a caregiver now for over 32 years, actually almost 33 years. Wow, that's a long time. And I've stared at this mountain for a long time, and longevity tends to breed clarity. And I've looked at this, what's going on with the caregiver's heart? Because I'm of the mindset that you can throw all kinds of solutions at a caregiver, but if their heart is a train wreck, they're not going to act on it very well. So what we do on this show is we help point you to safety. We want to back you away from some very difficult places and help you navigate a place to safety so that you can start making healthier decisions for yourself in the midst of some of these very, very difficult situations. And speaking of very difficult situation, here he is. You know him, you know it, love him. He is the, you know him. He is the Baron of the Board, the Sultan of Sound, the Earl of Engineering, the man who puts the word care into, care to revise your statement, Congressman? He is John Butler, the Count of Mighty Disco, everyone.
Care to revise your statement there, Congressman? Oh, no, I plead the fifth.
And well, you should.
Oh, and then some.
I pled insanity.
Kind
of worked. John, I got a big show today.
Do you?
Lots of things we're going to talk about.
You know, you might want to tell me about that sort of thing because I produce the show. So
No. I like to keep you guessing.
Oh, yeah.
God, I like to keep you guessing. I want to keep you on your toes. Speaking of toes, listen, hopeforthecaregiver.com if you want to follow along on Facebook Live. I think we got all the kinks worked out.
I hear this internet thing is taking off pretty hot. So.
You send all your letters to John at the google.internet.com.
Correct, yes.
Okay. No, Hope for the Caregiver on Facebook. You can watch it. And it is we're glad to have you join with us on that. And then also we'll podcast this later. Video podcast, audio podcast. It's all at our podcast. Go to hopeforthecaregiver.com. It's a free podcast, John. Free.
It's my favorite English word. On a scale of 1 to America, how free is it?
It's never mind.
All
right. So anyway, that's what we do. And we'd love to have you be a part of it. 800-688-9522, 800-688-9522. And listen, let's get right to a lot of busy things that we got to cover today, John. I actually made notes. Don't tell anyone.
What am I going to do with you? Probably still produce the show, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. You know, hey, $10 is $10.
I was going to say.
You know? All right, so let's go to our caregiver tip of the day. Our caregiver tip of the day brought to you.
Every time you say it, I'm contractually obligated.
Our caregiver tip of the day is brought to you by AARP of Tennessee, which AARP has so many resources for the family caregiver. You can go out and take a look at those now, from financial stuff that you can look at and see, okay, what is this going to cost over the time? Where are some resources I can go? I mean, there's just so much. I can't give the whole index of it. There's so much. Go take a look, aarp.org/TN. Now, our caregiver tip of the day, John, don't play it. This is a little bit existential.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
All right.
But I heard this, as I often do, great things I hear from martial arts folks.
Sure.
And I was there yesterday, and it's not my instructor. He is the guy that owns the whole dojo, and he and his wife run this together, and I'm giving him credit for it. And this guy is just brilliant, and I love his philosophy and the concepts that he thinks of, because self-defense is not just defending yourself physically against an attacker. Self-defense, I believe, starts with the heart, and it starts with understanding it's very difficult to defend that which you do not value. And how many caregivers do not value their own hearts? I mean, think through that. So I was listening to him talk to another class, and he said this statement. Stay with me, John, on this. You ready?
I'm with you.
He said, you've heard the statement, out of the frying pan into the fire?
Yes.
It's actually a chapter in the Lord of the Rings, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you knew that or not. That's the chapter, the name of the chapter.
Is that the one with Tom Bombadil?
No, that's the one when all the wargs had them treed.
Oh,
and
that's
then
a good
Gandalf
one.
started lighting the pine cones and throwing them down.
Okay.
Okay. So just a little bit of a nerd version here. Okay.
Humor us this. Okay?
Yeah. I mean, I have so little. I asked for just this tiny bit. But out of the frying pan into the fire. And a lot of people think, okay, well, now I'm getting into worse trouble. And he said this, John, and this is our caregiver tip of the day. The fire is closer to safety than the frying pan. And I thought, that's brilliant. That's
Fair.
brilliant. Because, yes, both of them, you're in danger. However, you got a better shot of rolling out of the fire than you do out of the frying pan.
Indeed.
And he said, I think
Teflon is hellish. It's just very, very slippery.
Yes. And think through this. He said, the point is to keep moving, get to safety, keep moving, get to safety. If you're in the frying pan, if you're stuck in a situation, you're not going to get out of it. You're going to be stuck there and be condemned to that. But if you keep moving forward, keep moving as a caregiver. And I'm not negating the thing that we talk about, learning to be still and all those kinds of things, because those are important. But as far as keep pushing yourself to safety. Now, we don't always know where safety is, and that's why we do this show.
It might be up over a hump, you know.
It is, and I was telling, I get a lot of calls when I was doing a TV appearance recently, and it drives a lot of traffic to the website, and then I get a lot of email in from folks, and they don't know what to do. They truly, honestly, are in a place where you feel like they're just about ready to explode, but they don't know which direction to go. And sometimes it's as simple as just doing the next right thing. And the next right thing may be to take a nap. The next right thing, one lady, I remember she said, my house is just a wreck and I'm overwhelmed. And I'm of the mindset that if the caregiver's frazzled, chances are their home is too. And so you'll have a lot of disorganization in the home. Please don't come see my house. Certainly my office. I haven't gotten the annual leaf blower out yet. And so,
is that how you do your taxes?
Oh, it's a leaf blower. It's sometimes a flamethrower, but it's I told her, I said, how about this? How about just starting with cleaning the microwave? Now, there's no great no book of great accomplishments of cleaning the microwave out there. However, I found that if you just do the next right thing, one small task that you can do that you know is a good thing to do, and it just builds onto that over and over, and pretty soon you're walking away from this franticness and you're actually putting a series of successes. I know that sounds very elementary. I know that sounds very simple, but that's what we need right now. And I go back to one of my go-to movie moments that I remember so vividly in We Were Soldiers Once, and it's the story of Hal Moore and some things that went on over at Vietnam, and Mel Gibson played Colonel Hal Moore, and there's one scene where the whole thing is just disintegrating and bullets are flying, people are dying. It's a horrible situation, and into that steps Hal Moore with a very simple, the Colonel Hal Moore says, we're going to take this creek bed, we're going to take this hill, we're going to take this piece of land right here. It wasn't this 5-year plan of how to do things. It was a simple set of tasks of what's the next right thing that we have to do. And for you as a caregiver, it may be just picking up the phone and calling your physician and setting up an appointment. Okay? It may be taking something that's going to improve your life physically, or not taking something. In other words, stop drinking Red Bull to get through the day. Not that there's anything wrong with Red Bull, John. I don't want any letters coming.
Yeah, we can't.
But you can't sustain that. You know, I mean, that's just, you don't want to see me on Red Bull, John.
I've seen you on, how many coffees you had?
All right. I've only actually had 1.5. Well, maybe 2.
That's
I don't know. But that's not the point. maybe drink water. I love what you said earlier. You wake up in the morning. The first thing you do is you do what?
I grab a huge mug of water. It is fantastic. It makes me feel amazing. And there's a lot of me. I'm a big dude.
There's a lot of me.
I require lots of hydration. So I just gulp it down. And first of all, just getting up and getting the blood flowing in the morning is good. I'm out of bed.
You would think that this, for those you just tuning in, this is a show for caregivers, but this is where it starts. Simple things like that. Drink to think. Out of the frying pan, out of the fire is the caregiver tip of the day, and you're closer to safety in the fire than you are in the frying pan. I know that sounds weird, but trust me on this. If you just keep moving in the right direction, putting one foot in front of the other in the right steps, you're going to see changes that come. You didn't get here overnight. You're not going to get out of it overnight. But that's not the point. The point is to get out of it into the safe direction. What is safety? What does safety look like in your situation? Sometimes it's like I said, picking up the phone and call the doctor. Maybe that phone feels like it's 100 pounds. Call your physician and ask, to get some lab work and blood work. By the way, I got some lab work this week.
I'm sorry. There's like 4 jokes that I can't say on the air.
No, you can't. And we all thank you for that. I went my regular time to go get lab work, dropped 10 pounds.
Right on. Look at you.
And all my, everything is looking good except for 2 particular numbers that are associated with the types of food that I like to eat.
Oh. And
then, it's not like bad and I'm like, whatever, right. but it's like, oh, let's shucky darn, and that's a behavior problem. That is
right. And this is the thing is we're not going to be, perfect on anything, but there you go.
We're looking for progress, not perfection. And if you are getting out of that frying pan into the fire and you feel like, oh gosh, I'm in a worse situation. No, you can still move out of this. And as a caregiver, this is what you have to do. See, it's so important for you to be safety and be at safety. If you go down, you're going to take somebody else with you. Okay? You follow me on that?
20 seconds.
Your health is more important at this point than you could possibly imagine. Let's take it seriously. Hey, this is Peter Rosenberg. This is Hope for the Caregiver. We'll be right back with a great new segment you're going to love.
How do you feel? Is your body sluggish? How about your mind? What about sleeping? Is that difficult for you? When you had your last physical, what did you learn about your health? Should you lose weight? If you're like so many caregivers, those are hard questions. You didn't get here overnight, and you won't change it overnight. But there are steps you can take starting today. Find more information at ahealthierlifeforyou.com. That's ahealthierlifeforyou.com.
Have you ever struggled to trust God when lousy things happen to you? I have. I'm Gracie Rosenberger, and in 1983, I experienced a horrific car accident leading to 80 surgeries and both legs amputated. I questioned why God allowed something so brutal to happen to me, but over time, my questions changed, and I discovered courage to trust God. That understanding, along with an appreciation for quality prosthetic limbs, led me to establish Standing with Hope. For more than a dozen years, we've been working with the government of Ghana and West Africa, equipping and training local workers to build and maintain quality prosthetic limbs for their own people. On a regular basis, we purchase and ship equipment and supplies. And with the help of inmates in a Tennessee prison, we also recycle parts from donated limbs. All of this is to point others to Christ, the source of my hope and strength. Please visit standingwithhope.com to learn more and participate in lifting others up. That's standingwithhope.com. I'm Gracie, and I am Standing with Hope.
Welcome back to the show for caregivers, about caregivers, hosted by a caregiver. I am Peter Rosenberger, bringing you 3 decades of experience to help you stay strong and healthy. How are you doing? How are you feeling as a caregiver? That's the question we ask. How are you feeling? We want to know. Let's talk about that. 800-688-9522. 800-688-9522. If you want to follow along on Facebook Live, it's at facebook.com/hopeforthecaregiver. The website is hopeforthecaregiver.com. And you can go ahead and subscribe to our podcast there. E-letter, all that stuff is free. Just take advantage of it. Use it. And while you're there, look at some of the music we have, the books, 7 caregiver landmines, how you can avoid them, hope for the caregiver, lots and lots of different resources. Let's before we bring in our very special guest today, let's get right to our today's senior moment.
I don't need your rocking chair.
All right, our today's senior moment brought to you by our friends at Morning Point, morningpoint.com, and that's point with an E, P-O-I-N-T-E, morningpoint.com, Senior Living and Memory Care Center. Hey, John, you get those a lot of those calls that look like they're coming from our local area code, but they're not.
Oh, I can sniff those out pretty quick. I get them so often. So yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of that you get like from the IRS that they're going to issue a warrant in 3 months.
Well, the IRS will never call you.
That's true. And so we wanted just to talk quickly about fraud. You're going to get a lot of those calls. You're going to keep getting those calls. Do not engage with these folks. Do not engage if they want to give you an extended warranty on your car, particularly the one that you sold 3 years ago.
Yeah. Don't even say the word yes. Just hang up the phone.
And also, there's another one. If you're in a medical situation, I've been dealing with this somehow with Gracie or something because she's a pain patient. She lives with a lot of chronic pain. And so somewhere along the line, they picked up our number because she qualifies for a new, some kind of, I don't know, back brace or something. Well, let me tell you something. If they're calling you multiple times to give you a free back brace, can I just go ahead and just blow? And I told the people this week, because I've opted out like 12 times of this. And I said, hey, guess what? Guess who hosts a radio show for caregivers that's nationwide is going to call you people out on it on the air? Oh, that would be who has 2 thumbs and it has their own radio show? That's me, baby. So if you get all these calls of people that you don't know, first off, the first thing to do, ask them what state they're in. Ask them where they are and watch what they tell you. And you'll see a number in your area code, but they're not calling from that. And I had one time they called in from the IRS and they told me I was going to get a arrest warrant in 3 months. So I just kind of played along and I said, well, the doctor I started acting like I was retching and crying. And the doctor's given me 3 months to live.
You love this story.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
And I just kept doing it. And I told him, I said, nobody else has called me. You're the only person that's ever called to care about me, to even warn me of something like this. And I would act that I'd go into a retching fit. And I just kept the guy on the phone for 10 minutes. And finally, he just hung up. Now he's going to spend the rest of his life trying to think he was cheating a dying man. It's not my problem. It's his. Hey, listen, speaking of, so that's our today's senior moment brought to you by Morning Point, Senior Living and Memory Care Center. And fraud is a big issue that's attacking a bunch of people. Would you please be a little bit wiser when you answer the phone with these folks? Speaking of all the things that are protecting you, guess what? I have a guest on the show today. You're going to love her. I want you to think about something. As a caregiver, think about all the legal documents you need. The power of attorney, a will, a living will, so many more things. And then think about disputes over medical bills. Just go down the list of all the things you do as a caregiver. What if instead of putting out a bunch of big fees for a lawyer, I mean, lawyers are very expensive per hour, for just a little bit of time, you were able to pay a monthly membership and got a law firm for life? Guess what? Legal representation is going in a much different direction now, in the form of accessible, affordable, full-service coverage, and you can live life knowing you have a lawyer in your back pocket who's not emptying it. And that's the whole point of this. So it's called Legal Shield, and I have a very special guest here to talk about today, Michelle Schulman of the Nathan Group. She's all things Legal Shield, and I've been a member for myself for now more than 5 years, and it is well paid for itself. I've helped with all kinds of stuff with me, setting up business stuff, dealing with wills, dealing with traffic tickets, whatever. Not that I get a lot of traffic tickets, John, but in the rare event that it has happened. So, Michelle, welcome.
Thank you.
How are you feeling?
I feel fabulous.
Well, thank you very much for being here and walking us through this. Let's just jump right to a bunch of things. You've been involved with Legal Shield for a long time. And
19 years.
you've seen pretty much everything, haven't you?
Well, probably.
So
Absolutely.
when it comes to all the things that people need, and this is the day-to-day stuff. So I want to just go down a list of questions for caregivers that we would, we're facing all the time, and some things we need. And I thought maybe you could just kind of check them off with us. Okay.
Okay.
First off, how much is this going to cost to speak to a lawyer?
Well, it doesn't cost you anything. All you're paying for is a monthly subscription fee of $24.95.
And this is for a real law firm.
It is one of the high-rated law firms. We're actually breaking, we're a disruptive model. So instead of having to look in the phone book or asking a friend if they've used a lawyer and who it was, what Legal Shield has done is found a full-service law firm in each state to represent our members in that state. So when you call in, you're speaking to a lawyer, not a paralegal and not a secretary, and that lawyer is licensed in your state, so they know the laws that apply to you in your situation.
That's really important to know. Every time I've called in, and I've done this I've used them for multiple things, I always get a call back from an attorney, and it's not always the same one because it's depending on what I need.
Exactly.
And I've talked to the same one over several times with various related projects, but it depends on what I need, and they will put me with an attorney, and it's not an assistant. It's not some intern. It is a real attorney calling back, and so that's great to know. Is there a time limit?
No, well, you have to call during normal business hours, Monday through Friday, but you can't wear it out. You can call on an unlimited number of issues. If you need to call back on the same issue, you are welcome to do that, and the attorneys will continue to answer your questions and move things forward for you.
All right. What about if there's an existing issue that's already in play?
As long as you have not already retained an attorney, pre-existing conditions are covered as well.
That's just astonishing. And all right, now I know that I've used for preparing a will, and they do things like power of attorney and all those. Kind of go down the list of all the things that's orbit a caregiver's world, because you've done this. You've done this as a caregiver yourself, and you've had to go through this taking care of a different family member. Go through kind of the circle of things that we got to go deal with as caregivers.
Absolutely. For your loved one, as long as they are able to speak to an attorney, to at least communicate, to let them know that they'd rather have you deal with their issues, that relative can get a comprehensive will, living will, advanced health care directive, and if necessary, a durable power of attorney at no additional cost.
And that's covered under the $24.95.
Correct.
$24.95, not $2,400, not
That's
$240, right. $24.95 every month, and it pays for itself. A whole year's worth of this membership will pay for itself in 1 hour phone call with many attorneys.
Absolutely.
That's great. Well, all right, now let me go through this. A lot of folks are dealing with getting on Social Security disability, and they see these lawyers advertised on television. Don't need those anymore, do we, if we're doing this?
Correct. You'll call in, you'll speak to an attorney who is knowledgeable with disability and the Social Security Administration. They will advise you. What I've been told is what they'll probably have you do is submit the initial paperwork yourself. If the claim is denied, then they will run and be advocates for you and do the heavy lifting.
And I did that myself. I mean, I went through it, but there's a lot of folks out there. It's an incredibly intimidating process, and it is. And if you go and you call an attorney on television, and God bless them, I'm not slapping them around, but they're going to take a piece of the action.
That's right.
Legal Shield's not going to do that.
Correct. And what's nice is as you're filling out the paperwork, you can call back in and ask questions if you're not sure of what should go into what field. When the application is completed, you can send it into the law firm, email it in, an attorney will review it, call you back, and let you know if they feel that anything should be changed. So it's not as if you're going to be downloading a form for a disability claim and you're on your own. Your hand will be held the entire way, and hopefully it'll be approved the first time through. But if not, you've got, as I said, you've got top-rated advocates there that'll fight the fight for you.
Well, I want folks to just think through this for a moment. If you file for disability for a loved one, and they're going to go, it's going to take a process to go through it, 18 months, sometimes 2 years, depending on the journey. And the moment you file, if it's approved, they're going to go back and back pay you those disability payments. That could be 10, 15, even 20, I don't know, maybe even more, thousands of dollars. I mean, we're talking a substantial amount of money. And if you are hiring an attorney like that you see on television or whatever, they're going to take a percentage of that.
That's right.
But Legal Shield is not. They're just $24.95 a month.
Correct.
That is, so if you're looking at this for, what is that, that's $300 a year roughly, versus if you get a settlement of $15,000, you're talking vast amount of difference. If they're taking 20% of that, that's going to be $3,000 versus $300. And I don't even see how this is even a factor in decision making, because the importance of dealing with this. Now, if you've got a medical bill, they'll help you dispute. If you need to dispute it with a hospital or some type of medical practitioner, having a lawyer, you've been there, Michelle. It's a game changer, isn't it?
It's amazing. We get on the phone and we talk to the hospital, we talk to the provider, and so often it goes nowhere. What you then do is you call in to your law firm, you speak to an attorney, they'll ask questions, they'll probably have you send in, whatever policy you have. And it's amazing. They will write a letter on your behalf at no additional cost. And it's incredible how quickly that provider or that hospital stands up, pays attention, and resolves the issue. No muss, no fuss.
There are so many things day to day in our lives that we really could use some professional help with, legal help with. And we don't, because we're afraid of those big legal bills that come in. And there's a reason to be afraid of those. They are big legal bills. And who's got, an extra $1,500 sitting around to go have a couple-hour conference with an attorney? But now, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, it's not only that. It doesn't have to be the big things. As a caregiver, our time is so precious, and we are so stressed and stretched so thin that sometimes we just have minor problems, minor aggravations, and to have to sit on the phone for a half an hour waiting for customer service, or have to return to a store to argue with a manager that you deserve a refund. All you have to do is pick up the phone, call your law firm, and let the attorney run interference for you, write a letter or make a phone call, and you're going to see magic happen. It truly is magical.
$24.95 a month. Now, real quick, in the little bit of time I have, I had a lady contact me, and her mother had some level of dementia and was blind, and somehow one of her siblings changed the will around, and the family didn't know it, and all the property went to the sibling. It was a real mess, and the rest of the siblings were all up in an uproar about it. They didn't know what to do, because here's this document now, and this is the kind of thing that legal help is so helpful with, because I told her, I said, don't get all emotional about this yet. Sit down with an attorney and let a qualified attorney go through this with you. This is what Legal Shield is for, to help you with these things, so that, because there's no margin for error a lot of times with us as caregivers. And right. We're dealing with high drama on any given day. And to know that you've got a full service law firm that can go through it and help set up things and refer you for things. In the case you need a criminal defense lawyer. Now, I'm not saying anybody here at this studio does. John, you're not saying.
I've been advised.
John's he's already pleaded the fifth. We didn't say anything, John. No, but those things will probably incur a cost, but they will refer to you at a discounted rate. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
And then what if somebody's going through a pretty nasty divorce?
Well, the nasty divorce, you will have a divorce attorney, again, at a discounted rate. But if the divorce is amicable and everybody agrees on everything, 90 days after you sign up for the membership, an uncontested divorce, the legal fees are zero. All you're going to have to do is pay for the filing fees.
All right. We're going to go to caregiverlegal.com. Caregiverlegal.com if you want to know more. And Michelle, we're going to have you back on. We're going to talk about this some more, because this is going to be an ongoing issue for so many people. They don't know where to go. Caregiverlegal.com. And you can sign up today. Right now, you can start doing this. You don't have to wait. It's pretty quick, isn't it, Michelle?
Absolutely. Sign up today. You'll be speaking to an attorney Tuesday morning.
I have been a member for 5 years, and it has really been a huge help to me. Hope for the Caregiver. We're all about practical solutions. Michelle Schulman from the Nathan Group. Michelle, thank you so much for being a part, and I'll put this out on the podcast.
Thank you, Peter.
All righty. Caregiverlegal.com. It's all about helping you stay strong and healthy as you take care of someone who's not. This is Hope for the Caregiver. We'll be right back.
How do you feel? Is your body sluggish? How about your mind? What about sleeping? Is that difficult for you? When you had your last physical, what did you learn about your health? Should you lose weight? If you're like so many caregivers, those are hard questions. You didn't get here overnight, and you won't change it overnight. But there are steps you can take starting today. Find more information at ahealthierlifeforyou.com. That's ahealthierlifeforyou.com.
Have you ever struggled to trust God when lousy things happen to you? I'm Gracie Rosenberger, and in 1983, I experienced a horrific car accident leading to 80 surgeries and both legs amputated. I questioned why God allowed something so brutal to happen to me. But over time, my questions changed, and I discovered courage to trust God. That understanding, along with an appreciation for quality prosthetic limbs, led me to establish Standing with Hope. For more than a dozen years, we've been working with the government of Ghana and West Africa, equipping and training local workers to build and maintain quality prosthetic limbs for their own people. On a regular basis, we purchase and ship equipment and supplies. And with the help of inmates in a Tennessee prison, we also recycle parts from donated limbs. All of this is to point others to Christ, the source of my hope and strength. Please visit standingwithhope.com to learn more and participate in lifting others up. That's standingwithhope.com. I'm Gracie, and I am.
I'm sorry, I got that.
Well, you're
wrong.
flirting with disaster
Okay.
here.
Well, and that's so many of us do. Welcome back
Exactly,
to Hope for the Caregiver. This is Peter Rosenberger.
If you couldn't tell from the
didn't.
intro, there is Hope for the Caregiver. It's a show for caregivers.
We
Where
flirt
we
with
talk about
disaster.
caregivers.
Bless your heart. This is the nation's #1 show for the family caregiver. I really try to stay one step ahead of you, and I don't know why.
I got some long legs.
It's just not going to happen. 800-688-9522, 800-688-9522 if you want to be a part of the show. Listen, we talked a little bit earlier today about our caregiver tip of the day, which was out of the frying pan into the fire. We somehow think that we're just getting into worse disaster if we're going from one crisis to another, but sometimes getting into the fire means you're one step closer to rolling out of the fire. If you stay in the fire pan, you're stuck, you can't get out, you don't know where to go. We're all about moving you to safety.
Last time I checked, the fire was all the way around the frying pan.
It is indeed. And we're about moving caregivers out of that place where they can get to safety. And doesn't mean you're going to do it without being singed. It really doesn't. But it does mean that you can do it. And what does that look like? And then our today's senior moment, watching for fraud. Watch those phone calls that you get, and if it says it's in your area code, ask questions about it. I mean, go ahead and just ask the person questions, and if they hang up on you when you start asking questions, it's a pretty good sign that they, and if they're talking like they're from Mumbai and their name is Kevin McDonald, I'm just going to go ahead.
And if someone calls you on your phone to offer you something, or to, like, as soon as they start asking for anything approaching personal information, they stand to gain more than you do out of this engagement.
Just be savvy. And then we had Legal Shield talking about this wonderful service that's available to us right now. I've been a member for 5 years, and it has really paid off. $24.95 a month. Caregiverlegal.com if you want to see more and sign up for today, right now. You can go ahead and do it. Caregiverlegal.com. And then lastly, I would like to just quickly tell you, I bought some pylons this week, John. Pylons, 36-inch, 30-millimeter pylons, because we're getting a lot more above-knee amputees in Ghana at the clinic, at the prosthetic clinic that Standing with Hope runs. Standing with Hope is the presenting sponsor of this show, and we have two programs, a prosthetic limb outreach to Gracie's fellow amputees, and this family caregiver outreach, which you're hearing on this station right now. And the prosthetic limb outreach, some of the things we can recycle, and we do. We can even recycle pylons, but we don't always get a lot of tall ones in. And when you get an above-knee amputee come in, you got to have a longer pylon to be able to make up for it.
There's more leg.
There's more leg. And so we bought some more. We've got some coming on back order. Then we're going to do a big shipment. Some of the things, like we have plenty of the shorter ones for below knee legs, and that goes to the local prison in Nashville, run by Core Civic. It's one of their faith-based programs at corecivic.com. And inmates volunteer to tear these limbs down for us, to disassemble them for us, to get down to the screw level. We'll save every pylon. We just happen to have to buy some longer ones this week, and also saw blades. Have to do that. Have to get some saw blades because we got cast saws over there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we needed to get some saw blades, and so those are coming too. And then I'm gonna get together a packet of stuff and send it back over to Africa, along with some recycled parts that are at the prison now waiting, and we're just getting them in every single day. But it's those half blades.
No, well, and those are so neat. They can't cut your skin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so safety first, kids.
Yeah.
And then we also purchased some resin this week for the clinic to be able to use, because you have to use acrylic resin to fabricate the socket. And we make a mold of the patient's limb and make an on-site custom fit socket right there. These are all things we're doing at Standing with Hope, all to point people to Christ, to be able to say, hey, look, silver and gold have I none, but such as I have I give. In the name of Jesus, stand up and walk, and they do. It's an amazing ministry that Gracie envisioned after giving up her own legs. You can be a part of that today. Right now, you can start helping people with that right now and sponsor these supplies and shipping them and so forth. StandingWithHope.com. StandingWithHope.com. You give the gift that keeps on walking. Our vision is for the wounded and those who care for them, and that's what this show is all about. Hope for the caregiver. Hey, we'll put the podcast out a little bit later. Sorry about the technical difficulties early. We'll have top men looking at it, John.
Absolutely.
Who?
Top men.
Top men. Thank you for being a part of this time with us. We really love having you here, and we'll see you next week. This is Peter Rosenberger, Hope for the Caregiver, hopeforthecaregiver.com.
Top men in fine print.